Oh, I forgot to switch on the YouTube. Okay, just now I did. So, if Anatma is bodily superimposed, Anatma is bodily superimposed upon the Atma, and Atma's superimposed on the body only in its contact, not completely, not bodily. If you take this way, somebody tried to explain, mostly Mula Vidyavadins try to explain this way. Why try? That's what they explain. Atma is not superimposed bodily upon the Anatma. Chaitanya Atma is not bodily superimposed upon the Anatma. Own Atma remains separate and only its contact is superimposed upon the Anatma. Whereas Anatma is bodily superimposed upon the Atma. This way, this stand they take. If you take that way, the problem would be, Purvapakshi himself says, you see, Purvapakshi is more intelligent than Mula Vidyavadins. I'm sorry. Purvapakshi is more intelligent than Mula Vidyavadins. So this Mula Vidyavadins explanation to avoid Shunyavada, at the same time maintain mutual adhyasa. Bhashyakara says there is a mutual adhyasa. Bhashyakara says there is a mutual adhyasa. Now we have to show the mutual adhyasa. If you take Paraspara adhyasa, then the problem arises that you will end up in Shunyavada. So to avoid Shunyavada, what will you do? The Mula Vidyavadins took a very strange stand to avoid Shunyavada. They took a strange Siddhanta, strange stand. What is that? That Anatma alone is bodily superimposed, whereas Atma is not bodily superimposed. Atma remains Atma, only its contact is superimposed. If this is the explanation given to avoid Shunyavada, Purvapakshi told, that is not in keeping with Anubhava. Our Anubhava shows I am the body, I am the mind, I am the sense organs. Because the experience shows I am the body. It is not that I am possessing the body. If, as Mula Vidyavadin said, told, if adhyasa of Atma upon the Anatma, I repeat, adhyasa of Atma upon the Anatma, which Shankaracharya himself told mutual adhyasa, paraspara adhyasa. So if Atma's adhyasa upon the Anatma, Deha and others, were only contact alone, not bodily. Atma is not bodily. Atma is not Swarupataha, bodily not imposed upon the Anatma, only its contact is imposed. Then what should our Anubhava have been? Our Anubhava should have been like this, that I am only possessing the body, I am only using the body, I am not the body should not have been there. But our Anubhava says, I am the body. I am here, I am sitting, I am talking, I am thinking. That means I take bodily qualities upon myself. I am subject to birth and death. When I say I am born, it is the body. When I say I may die, you are afraid of death, that means it is the body. So you take clearly I am the body. Atma is superimposed upon the body. Your Anubhava says that. And if Mula Vidyavadin's explanation that Atma is not bodily superimposed upon the Deha and others is against experience, it can't be accepted. Okay? It is against experience. Therefore, in mutual adhyasa, there is a complete Atma and Anatma together. Atma and Anatma both are superimposed. Then Shunyavada will be the result. Therefore, to avoid this Shunyavada, to avoid Purvapakshi, to avoid Mula Vidyavadin's explanation, that means Mula Vidyavadin's explanation is going against Anubhava. So Purvapakshi says, I give you an alternative explanation. Your explanations are not convincing to me. Body and Atma both are really separately present. They only come together and Atma uses Anatma. Both are really existing. Both are really existing and they are, Atma is using Anatma. But even Purvapakshi's explanation is worse than other two explanations. One is Mula Vidyavadin's explanation. Second is Shunyavadi's explanation. Third is Purvapakshi's explanation. So we have three. Okay. The Shunyavadi's explanation, Buddhist explanation is Atma, Anatma mutually superimposed. Without the Adhyasa, both of them don't exist. This is Shunyavadi's explanation. Then Mula Vidyavadin's explanation is Atma, Anatma is bodily superimposed upon the Atma, whereas Atma's only contact is superimposed upon the Anatma. This goes against experience. So even Mula Vidyavadins also doesn't suit. Partly okay, but partly wrong. Partly okay. Anatma is superimposed upon the Atma is okay. So it is against experience, Purvapakshi, Mula Vidyavadin. Third explanation is Purvapakshi's explanation. Neither Atma is superimposed nor Anatma. Both of them are independently real. Yet they come in contact, that's all. Therefore, Atma uses the body. These are the three explanations. Siddhanti starts refuting all the three. Now because Siddhanti starts. We have covered one class. Even Siddhanti's answer also, we have covered one class. He dismisses all the three. So he gives a combined answer. Okay? Because the main crux of Siddhanti, if he teaches, answers, that answers all the three people together in one stroke. What is that? First, Yattavaduchyate Dehaderanyonyadhyase. First was, if Atma and Anatma are mutually superimposed, if there is an Anyonya Adhyasa, there will be Shunyavada, because both of them would not exist outside Adhyasa. Then there would be Shunyavada alone, the result. This was what Purvapakshi told. To this, Siddhanti replies, Tadasat, that is not true, because Asangatvad Atmanaha, Atma is Asanga. Asanga means what? This we have discussed elaborately in the previous class. Okay, Atma is Asanga. Asanga means Atma doesn't lend itself to be imposed. No Adhyasa is possible in the nature of the Atma. Atma's nature is such that there is no second to Atma and there is no Adhyasa upon the Atma. Both of them. Neither Adhyasa is possible nor there is a second thing to Atma. Atma alone is. Atma by its nature is Asanga. Asanga, uninvolved, untouched, unconnected. Okay, it is just non-dual. Asangasya Atmanaha, or it is independent of Adhyasa. Atma by its very nature is independent of Adhyasa. It neither depends upon Adhyasa, nor it needs Adhyasa, nor Adhyasa ever exists with reference to Atma. From the standpoint of Atma, no Adhyasa exists. There is only Asangasyad Atmanaha. Sarvasangarahitaha khalu Atma ishyate. This is what we mean. We hold that Atma is Sarvasangarahita. It has no connection, no Adhyasa, nothing. It is purely Sat Chit Ananda. Nachatasya Adhyasa Matrena Asatyatvam. Okay. Atma in its real nature, 2 points here again. Atma in its real nature is Asanga. Asanga means no Adhyasa ever exists. But from the standpoint of Adhyasa, that means looking from the Ajnani state, what happened? You find yourself in Adhyasa. Atma is superimposed upon the Anatma. Anatma is superimposed on the Atma. In fact, Atma and Anatma both exist only during Adhyasa. This is the point. This two, the Dvaitam exists only in Adhyasa. Anatma exists only during adhyasa. Outside adhyasa, no anatma at all. No adhyasa at all. Adhyasa exists only during adhyasa. This is the important point. Adhyasa is found to be there only when you are in adhyasa. If you are not in adhyasa, no question of adhyasa. Adhyasa is not a reality on its own. Only adhyasa is found only in adhyasa. Not in, that means a mistake seems to be a mistake only under the mistake. This is important. A mistake is a mistake only under the mistake. That means mistake is not a real event, a real occurrence. This is important. Why do you say mistake is only during mistake? Why don't we simply say there is a mistake? This is the difference. There is a mistake is one. There is a misunderstanding, that is, there is a misunderstanding or there is a mistake is one. Another way is the misunderstanding is only during the misunderstanding. We talk of misunderstanding only from the standpoint of misunderstanding, not in reality. You may say, what is the difference? You say two points you are telling, two alternative views. One is there is a misunderstanding. Another you say this misunderstanding is only from the standpoint of misunderstanding. You are only stretching it. What does it make? What difference does it make? Both are same. No. You may say, but it's not true. Both are not same. First, when you say there is a mistake, then that mistake happens to be a real event. The second answer is misunderstanding or mistake is from the standpoint of misunderstanding alone. That means you think that there is a misunderstanding even from the standpoint of misunderstanding alone. In reality, there is no mistake also. There is no misunderstanding also. Misunderstanding is also not real. It appears to be misunderstanding only from the standpoint of misunderstanding. In reality, there is no misunderstanding at all. So this second point alone is true to your anubhava. Misunderstanding appears to be there from the standpoint of misunderstanding alone. Otherwise, you think that there is a misunderstanding and which is real. You think like that. There is a real misunderstanding and you have to really correct the misunderstanding. Then what happens? Misunderstanding becomes a real event to the Atma, and really removing misunderstanding also becomes another real event. Now, neither misunderstanding is real nor removing the misunderstanding is real, because the misunderstanding and its removal, both of them are from the adhyasa. In Atma, neither there is adhyasa nor there is a removal of adhyasa. See, neither adhyasa nor adhyasa nivrutti, because adhyasa seems to be there from the standpoint of adhyasa alone. See, are you a dreamer? I ask you. Is there a dream world? You say dream world is not there now. Now, when is there? Dream is there only when you look at from the dream standpoint. Dream is there only when you look at yourself, only take yourself an individual dreamer, then you find the dream. But in your real Sakshi, there is no dream at all. Neither it existed before, nor it exists now, nor it will ever exist. Therefore, the dream doesn't exist for anybody except for the dreamer. Dream appears to be there only for the dreamer and not for the non-dreamer. Similarly, the entire avidya or entire adhyasa, samsara, prapancha, only from the standpoint of adhyasa. That means even to say that there is adhyasa is also adhyasa. To say that there is an adhyasa and you have to remove it, this is also adhyasa. In fact, in reality, even that is not there. In reality, neither there is adhyasa nor there is a removal of adhyasa. Atma is always ever free, nitya mukta. Atma is nitya mukta. From the standpoint of Atma or in the anubhava of the Atma, neither there is adhyasa nor there is a removal of adhyasa. Adhyasa, removal of adhyasa. Adhyasa, adhyasa nivrutti, both don't exist. That means you can't say that there was adhyasa for some time and later you got corrected it. No. Adhyasa doesn't correct, jnana doesn't correct previous adhyasa. Jnana only teaches that there was never adhyasa. This is the point. Jnana doesn't remove adhyasa. It only tells you there was never adhyasa and there is no need to remove it. This is jnanam. Jnanam doesn't take place like this, that there is adhyasa and we have removed it. Now I am free from adhyasa. Earlier I was suffering from adhyasa. Now I have removed it. This jnanam won't take place this way. Earlier I had adhyasa. Now I have removed it. So that means there was adhyasa at one time. Now it is removed. This way jnanam doesn't take place. Jnanam says that there was never an adhyasa, nor there was a need to remove. Neither adhyasa nor removal. I am already Brahman, ever Brahman. I never suffered from adhyasa. Because the thought of adhyasa is from the thought of adhyasa alone, not in reality. This is the point. Okay, this is important point. Nacha tasya adhyasa matrena asatvam prasanjayitum shakyate. Now, that Mula Vidyavadin told, what was his explanation? Anatma is no doubt superimposed upon the Atma, because what is superimposed is found to be there only during superimposition. Outside adhyasa, it doesn't exist. If you go by this principle, that an adhyasta vastu is seen during adhyasa alone, an adhyasta is seen only during adhyasa, in the absence of adhyasa, no vastu. It doesn't ceases to exist. If you apply this principle, then just as anatma is superimposed upon the atma, even atma is superimposed upon the anatma. In that case, what happens? Atma also ceases to exist. Atma also exists only during adhyasa. When you correct adhyasa, Atma doesn't exist. That would be the problem. Siddhanti says, no, there is a difference. Nacha tasya adhyasa matrena asatvam prasanjayitum shakyate. Anatma can be called non-existent without adhyasa. See, Deha and Anatma found to be there only during adhyasa. Without adhyasa, they don't exist. But regarding Atma, Atma is found to be adhyasta, yet independent of adhyasa, it exists. You can't say Atma ceases to exist when there is no adhyasa of Atma upon the Anatma. See, when Atma is superimposed upon the Anatma, when there is adhyasa of Atma upon the Anatma, when you remove the adhyasa, what happens? Atma ceases to exist? No. See, because Atma's existence doesn't depend upon adhyasa. Atma exists independent of adhyasa. That's why he told asanga. Asanga means Atma exists independent of adhyasa. To this, to further make it clear, he raises an objection and then answers. When you raise an objection and answer, point becomes clearer. Now, nanu sarvata ched asangaha katham tarhi tasya dehe adhyasaha. See, you say Atma is totally asanga. If Atma is completely asanga, completely detached, uninvolved, then Atma cannot be imposed upon an Atma. Then no adhyasa is possible. If Atma is totally asanga, adhyasa is not possible. If you accept adhyasa, then you don't say that it is totally asanga. See, this is Purvapakshas. If you accept that Atma has an adhyasa, Atma can be superimposed upon the Anatma. That means Chaitanya Atma can be taken as an Atma. Then don't say Atma is asanga. See how intelligently he argues. Then don't say Atma is asanga. Okay. I note down just. If Atma can be superimposed, you can't call it asanga. Because it is already superimposed, isn't it? When it can be connected with an Atma, then how can it be asanga? Alave. You can't call it asanga because asangatvam is gone. Asangatvam is gone. Gone means it goes wrong when you accept adhyasa. See, this is very interesting. When you accept adhyasa, asangatvam of atma is gone. If you accept asanga, no adhyasa is possible. If adhyasa is accepted, that means atma's asanga and adhyasa are totally contrast. If you accept atma is adhyasa, no atma cannot become asanga. Because it is adhyasa is possible. Adhyasa possible means no asanga. Because adhyasa is a connection. Asanga means unconnected, detached. But now it is not detached, it is attached. Atma is attached. Adhyasa means attached. Attached means no asanga, no detached. Okay, if Atma is accepted as asanga, no adhyasa is possible. They are totally mutually each other, opposite to each other. If Atma is accepted asanga, adhyasa is not possible. But we find adhyasa in our anubhava. Since adhyasa is possible, then don't say Atma is asanga. Either way. Okay. This is the thing. 65 page. To this, Siddhanti replies, see how clearly Swamiji's thinking is. Point by point is perfectly clear. Now to this, Nanu Sarvatha Ched Asangaha, if Atma is totally Asanga, really Asanga, no adhyasa is would be possible. Katham tarhi tasya dehe adhyasaha, how can that Atma identify with Deha? How can Atma be superimposed upon the body? If superimposed, then no asanga. Okay. Then if it is asanga, no adhyasa is possible. Nached adhyasaha. If there is no adhyasa, katham va adhyastatma bhavo deha iti. If Atma being asanga, if you say that Atma's asanga, I won't compromise. I accept Atma's asanga as a uncompromising fact, undeniable fact, indispensable fact. You can't change it. That is a definite. If Atma is accepted as asanga, then no adhyasa is possible. Then you may say, yes, no, there is no adhyasa. Then if no adhyasa, adhyastad atma bhavaha, you cannot experience a body on which Atma is adhyasta. That means with which your Atma is identified. So Atma remaining under identification, Atma's experience of identifying with the body would not be there. Atma's identification with the body would not have been there. But we find there is already identification. How can you say Atma is totally asanga? If Atma is totally asanga, no adhyasa would be possible. Then no anubhava that I am the body would not have been possible. But we see clearly, it is everybody's experience that I am the body. Isn't it? I am the body would not have been there if Atma is totally asanga, if no adhyasa were there. But we find that I am the body. This shows that there is adhyasa. Now once there is adhyasa, then don't call Atma, as Purvapakshi says. I am the body is a normal experience of everybody. Common experience. Everybody knows I am the body. In fact, without this, there is no life at all. It is so universally accepted anubhava, nobody can deny. Nobody can deny. I am the body is everybody's experience. If everybody's experience is there that I am the body, then adhyasa is there. Because any experience shows. If adhyasa is there, then don't call Atma as asanga. How Purapakshi catches you. Then don't call Atma as Asanga. Accept Atma is Sanga. Sanga means Atma is. Asanga means not capable of connection, not lending itself to be connected with anything else. Asanga means doesn't get connected. Then dropping Asanga means it is available for connection. It can be connected this way. Connectability. It can be connected. Asanga means no connection. Sanga means connectability. Connectability is there. That means Atma can be connected. That means Atma can be superimposed. Adhyasa Yogya. Or in other words, Atma becomes Adhyasa Yogya. Adhyasa Yogya. Fit to be superimposed. Fit to be imposed. Oh, Samskrita you have to use and English also we have to use. Fit to be imposed Adhyasa Yogya. If Atma is Asanga, no Adhyasa Yogya. But Adhyasa we find. It is our Anubhava. When Adhyasa is found, now you can't say it is Asanga. It is Adhyasa Yogya because Adhyasa is found in our life. Our common life, everybody's experience says. It's a common experience. Undeniable. It is an undeniable common experience. Andre ನಿರಾಕರಿಸಕ್ಕಾಗದ ಇರುವ ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕ ಅನುಭವ. Undeniable common ಅಲ್ಲ, universal or common experience. ನಿರಾಕರಿಸಕ್ಕಾಗದ ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕ ಅನುಭವ ಏನು? ನಾನು ದೇಹು ಎಂಬ ಅಧ್ಯಾಸ, ನಾನು ದೇಹ ಎಂಬ ಅಧ್ಯಾಸ. ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಂಟೆನ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ. ಕಥಂ ವಾ ದೇಹ ಅಧ್ಯಸ್ಥ ಆತ್ಮಭಾವ ದೇಹೇ. ಆತ್ಮ ದೇಹದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಧ್ಯಸ್ಥ ಭಾವ ಹೇಗೆ ಆಗುತ್ತದೆ? ಸತ್ಯಂ ಅಧ್ಯಸ್ಥಾತ್ಮಭಾವ ಏವ ದೇಹ. ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ ಟ್ರೂ. Body is always under association with the Atma. Adhyastha Atma Bhava. Body is a body only when Atma is superimposed on it. Only when Atma is connected to it. Otherwise, body could not be experienced. You say this is an important point. Body is a body. Deha is a deha. That means there is deha, that's all. Body is a body only when Atma is superimposed on it. Only when Atma is adhyastha on it. Without adhyasa, without Atma being adhyastha, no body exists. Body is a body only when Atma is adhyastha upon it. Okay. If Atma were not superimposed upon, if Atma were not imposed upon the body, body would not exist. Nobody can experience body. Body comes to experience only when Atma is superimposed on it. Body comes to be experienced. Okay. How? Body comes to be experienced only when Atma is adhyastha. Only when Atma is adhyastha upon it. Without the Atma being superimposed upon the Deha, Deha will not be experienced. Because Deha doesn't exist. Deha has to exist only when Atma is superimposed on it. See, adhyasthatma bhavaha. These are amazing manana of Sachidananda Swamiji. Real Vedantin. People say Vedantin means only bookish Pandita, they think. No, it is Anubhavanusaravagi. It is an observation of Atma according to Anubhava. So it requires a deep thinking. It requires control of sense organs, mind and detachment, antarmukhata. Then only that complete observation and seeing the Atma is possible. Okay, therefore, Satyam, adhyasthatma bhavaha eva dehaha, body is inevitably superimposed. Body is, deha is inevitably or inescapably. There is no body. Inevitably, body is inevitably under the superimposition by Atma. Body is inevitably superimposed by Atma. That means if Atma was not imposed, body doesn't exist. That means, see the Anubhava, come to Anubhava. I am the body. You can find the body only during this experience that I am the body. I am the body. Body is a body to you only when you have I am the body. If you say I am the body, idea is dropped, body doesn't come. Body doesn't exist for you. It's a beautiful find. This is the most important of Advaita. Otherwise, you listen to Vedanta, still body continues, you never understand Vedanta. Jivatopi ashariratvam. That Bhashyakara says one word, Jivatopi ashariratvam. Jnani is always free from the body. So, body is inevitably superimposed by the Atma. Because without Atma, adhyasta upon the body, Atma adhyasta upon the body, body is not body cannot be seen. Body doesn't come to be experienced. Body doesn't come to be experienced. If you are experiencing the body, then Atma is already there, superimposed. If without the Atma being adhyasta upon the body, body does not come to be experienced. It's a very subtle point. I don't know, do people do understand? Anyway, if you do little patiently, it requires patiently observing, you find it exactly the same. What I am telling is perfectly, we are not stretching logically, we are not stretching, we are just pointing out the fact. It is perfect fact, undeniable fact. We are not just little remotely, little logically and little stretching, not like that. It is a perfect truth, uncompromising perfect truth. You can say boldly. Therefore, anadhyasta atma bhava satyam, adhyasta atma bhava eva dehaha, body is always superimposed by the Atma. Inevitably, body comes to be experienced only when Atma is superimposed. That means, in my I am the body, body comes to be experienced only under the thought of I am the body. Okay. Body comes to be experienced. Body comes to be experienced only under the notion, only during the notion. Only during the notion that I am the body. I am a body. So only under this notion, body is found. This notion inevitably means Atma is superimposed, because I am. Because the I, Atma, is connected with the body. Otherwise, body cannot be found. If Atma remains detached, no body is found. If Atma remains detached, okay. If Atma is asanga, asanga means what? If Atma is taken as asanga, no body experience would have been there. That I am the body experience comes only under the Atma being adhyasta upon the body. Without the Atma being superimposed upon the body, body never comes to be experienced. Since there is an experience of the body, that means I am the body is already there. body experience of the body necessarily requires I am the body, the notion that I am the body. Only strictly under the condition that I am the body, body comes to be experienced. If this I am the body is not there, there is no body. Beautiful, see. Only under the experience of I am a body, there is a body. Okay, I may be making mistakes grammatically, I am not good at English. Okay, this, that, all these things go wrong. You just forgive me. So I am the body, I am a body, I am this body. Only during this notion, body comes to be experienced. If I am the body, this notion is not there, no body. If this notion, nanu deha, without this adhyasa, there is no deha. There is deha means there is already I am the deha, adhyasa is there. I am a deha. If you find the body, that means adhyasa is already there. I am the deha, abhimana is already there. I am deha is already there. Because under that alone you find the body. If I am the body, this notion is corrected, this notion is dropped, no body can be experienced. How beautiful it is. This is the crux of Vedanta. If you get this, then you will understand Vedanta easily. That's why I'm repeating so that everybody will get it. Nobody should miss it. I hope with my so much of repetition, some people say, boringly, why so many times you are telling? So that you will not miss it. Because it's a subtle point, you should not miss it. You should get it correctly and perfectly, without fail. Okay, adhyasta atma bhava eva dehaha. Okay. तेन तु देहे अध्यस्तात्मनः एव असत्वं स्यात् न पुनरंगस असंगात्मनोपि. तेन तु देहे अध्यस्तात्मनः एव. Here the one more problem arises. So if Atma is superimposed upon the body, Atma is superimposed upon the body, then when you remove the adhyasa, Atma doesn't exist, isn't it? Earlier principle was a thing which is superimposed is to be found only under superimposition. What is superimposed is found only under superimposition. If Atma is always superimposed with the body, then in the absence of superimposition, Atma ceases to exist. That would be the problem Purvapakshi raised. Siddhanti says, no, here is some secret. There are two. Atma, when Atma is in a superimposed condition, note this, Atma, when it is in superimposed upon the body, that superimposed Atma is mithya, no doubt. But there is an Atma which is Asanga Atma. Atma, real Atma is one, superimposed Atma is two levels. Two levels we are talking. The superimposed Atma is no doubt mithya, but unsuperimposed, not available for superimposition, cannot be superimposed, is Asangatma. The Atma in its real nature doesn't lend itself to be superimposed. Atma doesn't lend, doesn't allow. But under superimposition, then the Atma which is superimposed upon the body, you see, Dehe Adhyasta Atma. That Adhyasta Atma ceases to exist when Adhyasa goes away. See, I am the body. In this I am the body, Atma is superimposed upon the body. This superimposed Atma ceases when Adhyasa is removed. But there is a real Atma which can never be superimposed, that always remains. See, the real Atma which cannot be superimposed is Asanga. It always remains Asanga. But there is another Atma which is superimposed upon the body. Okay. So during Adhyasa you find that I am the body. During Adhyasa, I am the body, there is a notion. There is a thought, I am the body. In this thought there is an Atma. Because without the Atma being superimposed on the body, body cannot be experienced. When body experienced, I am the body, this I am is there, this I am is an Atma. Okay, then what about this Atma? If Atma is Asanga, what about that Atma which is superimposed on the body? That is a Abhasa Atma, that is not real Atma. That is a Adhyastha Atma, is a Mithyatma. Okay? Adhyastha Atma is a Mithyatma. Asanga Atma is Satyatma. This is the point. Asanga Atma is Nitya Satya. Okay. Asanga Atma is Satyatma, but Adhyastha Atma, okay, Adhyastha Atma means the sense of I, the I that is experienced during Adhyasa with the body. That Adhyastha Atma is Mithya. Let it be false. When you remove Adhyasa, that Atma goes away. Which Atma? I am the body. This experienced Atma goes away. But the Asanga Chaitanya, Nitya Shuddha Chaitanya, that remains. There is an Adhyastha Atma, Asanga Atma. The same Atma whose original nature is Asanga Atma. There is a Kalpita Atma, Adhyastha Atma. Adhyastha Atma is a Kalpita Atma. If that goes away, let it go. Okay. If Adhyastha Atma goes away, let it go. What is Adhyastha Atma? Are there two Atmas? Then you may say, Ayyo, Adhyastha Atma goes away, Asanga Atma doesn't go away. Then the question comes, are there two Atmas? Okay. Are there two Atmas? No. There are no two Atmas. Then what? It is the same Atma. The Adhyastha Atma is only Abhasa, a false appearance of the real Atma. The real Atma appears as if superimposed upon the body. In its real nature, it can never be superimposed. But it appears, so that apparent state alone, Abhasa we call them. Chidabhasa, reflected Atma, apparent Atma, Kalpitatma, Adhyasthatma, whatever name you call it. Okay. Tena tu dehe adhyasthatmanah eva satvam syat na punarasanga syat asangatmanopi adhyasthatma tu abhasa matramiti tasya asatvepi nakshatihi. Therefore, this adhyastha atma is only abhasa matram. It is only a reflection. Like in mirror. A reflection in the mirror may go wrong. So even if it is not there, it doesn't bother. Because the real object exists. The reflection may be false, let it be, but the real object exists. Similarly, the real Atma is Asanga Atma, it ever exists. But in that Adhyastha state, the same Atma's false appearance, it's reflection, that's all. Therefore, Adhyastha Atma to Abhasa Matramiti. Adhyastha Atma is Abhasa. I think I have taken 1220. Iti tasya asatvepi nakshatihi. Okay, we'll continue this, because it's not yet complete. Nachaivam dehasyapi sattva prasanga atma. No, it has to be discussed. Little more deeper point. We'll discuss again in the next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om Tat Sat Om.